Okay, and we're ready for a new episode of Italy In and Out. Today we have Vickie from Yes Still Talking. Hi Vickie, how are you?
Good. Happy to be here.
Great, we're very happy to have you here as well. Right, Barbara?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Great. So Vickie, just to start, tell us a bit about yourself. Where do you live? What do you do? And who do you live with?
So, first of all, I just want to thank you, ladies, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And as you said, I'm Vickie. I'm the founder of Yes Still Talking, where I teach English. My goal is to help bring ease and laughter to English fluency by making it and keeping it seriously fun, which means that there are a lot of games involved in my classes. And my main goal there is to just show adults that games are not just for children, they can be for everyone. So I do that mostly in Spain, because that's where I live right now with my husband. And the rest of, sometimes in the summer, we'll go back to my hometown of Lincoln, Nebraska. So, yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Such a lovely introduction. As you mentioned, you are now based in Spain, but you are from Nebraska. So that's, yeah, we are just really curious with Iran about, the differences between different nations. So what, in your opinion, what were your first impressions and what the differences you could see between Americans and Spanish people or guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really funny because when I first came to Spain, when I very first came to Spain was for a really short school trip. So I didn't have time to notice any of the differences. But because it was just like, a week of culture shock and then I went back home. But when I came in around 2008, I was here for a longer period of time. And it's funny because I didn't notice the culture differences because I just went to live with a family and immersed myself in their lives. So like if they told me we buy a loaf of bread in the morning, then I bought a loaf of bread in the morning. That was just what they did, so that's what I did. I did whatever they told me to do and didn't think about it as this is different from the United States. It was just my new normal. This was my way of life while I was there. But when I went and started living on my own in Spain, that's when I realized I don't do things like that. When I live on my own, I don't buy bread in the morning. I don't eat a lot of bread. So I would almost never have bread in my house at all. And I would have my time at home on my own was American Vickie time. And then my time when I would hang out with people from Spain was me trying to learn the culture and be Spanish Vickie. And the difference is just it's hard. It's hard to be those two different people,
Yeah, because you end up having two kind of personalities, right? Yeah, I can relate to that. Barbara, you probably can relate to that as well, having an Italian personality and for me an English personality. I find it fascinating.
For sure.
Yeah, but what's fascinating? Sorry, please go.
Sorry. So when I was thinking of living in Spain in the short term, I think it was easier to be a part of the culture and just have maybe be American Vickie at home and have my own special traditions at home when I was living by myself. And then do things more of a Spanish way when I was going out, like eating at their meal times and going out for really long hours. They stayed out really late, which I wasn't used to. And that was in the short term, because I thought of my time living in Spain as like a school year from October to May or September to June, something like that. And I never knew if when I went home in June, May or June, if I was going to come back to Spain or if I was going to be in the States forever.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Isn't that
did
strange? So it's like I had to soak up all of the Spanish culture that I could while I was there for that short period, because I didn't know if I was going to be back.
Wow, I guess that you are the first guest in our show that who is just saying that, okay, so I move abroad with completely open mind, and you just adapt it to the local lifestyle without comparing much to your native one. Yeah, this is right, Iran.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's funny
it's
because
true.
I didn't think about it. I didn't think about the differences. I didn't notice the differences, but my friends noticed that I noticed the difference. Like, I didn't consciously notice it, but when I would talk to my friends and I would say, oh, I'm waiting for these friends to come and get me, but it's been a half an hour and they're more
They're
than a
late.
half hour late. I wonder where they are. And so I would send those messages to my friends. And for me, I wasn't thinking of it as a culture difference. I was just commenting to my friends. But then later, they're like, well, Spanish people show up late a lot. And I go, do they? Huh. So
Yeah.
like the culture differences were there. I was so immersed in it. And
Yeah.
still.
I was gonna say, it kind of felt like you were fully immersed when you were with the family, and afterwards you just, as you said, you had like two different personalities. That's cool. But what happened when you met your husband? Because your husband is Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so something must have happened there.
Well, when I met my husband, I realized that I had been living in this like alternate universe where I thought everything was easy and that I had blended perfectly into the culture, and that was not true. That's when I realized things are different, that I do things one way and he does things another way, which I think that anybody notices in a relationship, that two people are different. It doesn't matter if they're from different countries or not. That's just like an added level of difference, because the way that you're raised is already going to be a difference for you. But then, so you have the way that you're raised plus the culture that you're raised in, and that's a nice little mix of things to not to overcome, but to find a way to compromise, let's say. Yeah,
Absolutely. You make me think, because I met my husband like a year after I moved to London, and the first year, I mean, I was living with Italians and I was working with Italians, but I felt, okay, I can do this. When I met him, I was like, oh God.
well,
I was like,
I've
okay.
been here for 5 years before I met my husband.
Okay.
So I had my own version of Spain for 5 years, and then I met my husband, and I should probably add that we are 13 years apart in age. So he's 13 years older than I am. And we were not spring chickens. We were not like a really young couple to begin with. So I think those factors also came into play, because we were really set in our ways. We're like, we've been living these lives for over 30 years. This is how you do things. My way is this way, my way is this way. And then to combine that and be like, now we have to find a way that our two lives are going to be together, because we wanted to be together. So we needed to find this happy medium of his cleaning habits and my cleaning habits, his sleeping habits and my sleeping habits, his traditions and my traditions, like how are all these things going to fit together?
So basically everything was different, as you are saying, like from tiny play, like from cleaning routine, you know, just eating and sleeping, like wow, that's everything basically, right?
Yeah, it's such like, because before I had told you that I was American Vickie at home because I was living by myself for a lot of years in Spain, but I couldn't just be American Vickie with my husband there. So like it was back to, we need to buy a loaf of bread in the morning because my husband will want bread at lunch. I'm like, oh, I didn't buy the loaf of bread, or I still am not very good at that one. Like, I guarantee you when my husband comes home for lunch, he's gonna be like, did you get the bread? And you're like, not.
You should just keep one in the freezer as a backup.
We do now.
Okay, good.
But so now I still have to remember, did you take it out of the freezer this morning? Yeah. And it's such a silly thing, but it's like one of many things that you just have to remember, okay, this is my new tradition. This is my new part of my life.
Yeah. So, yeah, thinking about that, it seems like all your routine just has changed, right? Since yeah. So maybe would you mind to say something more about this? Because like basically from since you wake up in the morning to going to take a breath, like everything is different, right?
Well, I'm fortunate that I'm a night owl. So I like to stay up late, and that's something that I have in common with Spanish people, or at least the ones, I hate to say like Spanish people, like they're all going to do everything that I'm saying. So to the ones who don't do that, I mean, you're not included, but to the ones that are the night owls like me, I fit in well. But so that was like a part of my daily routine that I didn't have to change. It was just accepted, which is really nice, because in the States, it's not always, being a night owl doesn't always work out in your favor. But the difference between me being a night owl and my husband staying up late is that he can stay up late and get up early in the morning. I can't do that. If I stay up late, I need to sleep in late. I can't work at 8 in the morning if I went to bed after 11. Like that doesn't even seem late probably to people, but like I need those 8 hours. So that's one routine thing that's a little different. I need my 8 hours of sleep. I have to eat my breakfast late in the morning, or have like 2 breakfasts, or a breakfast and a snack, because right now when my husband's working, we don't eat lunch until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which in Nebraska, we have dinner at 5. So eating lunch at 3 is almost time for dinner where I'm from. Like, that's insane.
You could just have like a massive lunch or a massive dinner then.
Well, and so we do have a pretty big lunch, but I don't always have a really big lunch because I've had to have little meals throughout the morning, or I can't survive. Just like I get really grumpy when I don't have food. So, which is also something we had to learn, because my husband's like, "You're really grouchy today," and I'm like, because of food.
Yeah, you get hangry. That's the word that is a mixture of angry and hungry. Hangry.
I think that they came up with that word because of me. They saw me and they're like, "Oh, hangry, watch out." But now we know. Now we know. Just throw food at me and I'll be fine. But so then we have a late dinner, but our dinner isn't on a set schedule. Our lunch is pretty set. So around 3 o'clock, we have lunch. But our dinner could be anywhere from 8:30 p.m. to 10 at night. You don't know. You don't know when it's going to happen.
That's late.
It's late. Anyway, for anything after 5 o'clock is a late dinner for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. God, it sounds like your routine has changed quite a bit, Vickie.
Well, the funny thing is when I go back to Nebraska, my husband, he has to adapt to the Nebraska time change. And I am now like, I feel like I'm like a chameleon. So when I go back to Nebraska, I'm back in that 12 o'clock lunch, 5 o'clock dinner routine really quick. But my husband never quite adapts to the Nebraska eating. Like I adapt to Spain, Nebraska, Spain. I can make the switch now pretty easily.
We can jump from one time zone to another.
And in fact, this summer when I stayed in Spain, instead of going home to Nebraska, I feel like my body was like, wait a second, shouldn't we be having our 12 o'clock lunch now? And it's like used to it. It knows that in the summer, normally I switch.
Yeah. Okay, Vickie, to conclude, is there any tips that you would like to give any expat who's listening to us?
Well, since I mentioned at the beginning that I'm all about using games to help with language learning, that is the tip that I would like to leave with expats. I was actually given this game. It's just a standard set of Spanish cards, just like a standard deck. And like for me, that was really special to hang out with Spanish friends and learn how to play some card games, relax, get to know them, bond over cards, just be fun and silly, you know, and not stressed about telling your life story and using all of the grammar involved with that. And then they gave me this little deck of cards and I thought it was really sweet. So what I would say is to, like, I take this game of Uno with me wherever I go, so that I also have something that I can share with people when, not just when I'm here in Spain, but when I'm traveling abroad as well, because I think it's a really cool way to connect with new people, to share a game that you really love. You don't have to give them a deck every time that you go somewhere, but you can if you want to. But the point being that it's just a nice way to relax and bond and get to know each other over a nice game.
Excellent. I think it's like a really good advice. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Vickie, for this advice that you just shared with us. It's really lovely, and I think it's a great icebreaker. And that makes feel really, really comfortable. So thank you again. If you would like to follow Vickie, she runs her Instagram channel, Vickie Yes Still Talking, which is full of games and plays and fun. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Vickie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. If you girls were going to share a game with somebody like either in Italy or in England, what game would you each share?